The prison security camera caught something that should never have happened. At exactly 2:13 in the morning, Officer Daniel Harris quietly unlocked the steel door to cell 114. Waiting inside was Marcus Kane, the most feared killer in Black Ridge Prison. Marcus was serving life without parole. No one was supposed to open that door until sunrise. But Daniel did not come to check the cell. He came carrying a small brown envelope. Marcus looked at the envelope but did not touch it. "You finally brought it," Marcus whispered. Daniel's hands were shaking. "This is the last time." Marcus smiled, but it was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who believed he had already won. "You said that 3 weeks ago." Daniel slowly handed over the envelope. Marcus opened it just enough to see what was inside. A folded prison map, a security schedule, and one photograph. The picture showed a little girl walking home from school. Marcus looked at the photo for only a second before folding it closed. "You kept your promise," he said. Daniel lowered his head. "Now you keep yours." Marcus stepped closer until only the prison bars separated them. "I never break a deal." Then heavy footsteps echoed through the hallway. Another guard was coming. Daniel quickly grabbed the empty envelope, locked the cell, and hurried away before anyone could see him. Marcus quietly slipped the map and photograph beneath his mattress and sat on his bed like nothing had happened. The approaching guard stopped outside the cell. "What are you smiling about, Kane?" Marcus looked up with calm eyes. "Because tomorrow, everything changes." The guard laughed and walked away. But he had no idea that the most dangerous secret inside Black Ridge Prison had already begun. How could an honest prison guard end up making a secret deal with the prison's most dangerous killer? The answer started many months earlier. Black Ridge Prison stood far away from the nearest town. Tall gray walls reached into the sky. Sharp fences circled every corner. Cameras watched every hallway. The heavy steel doors slammed shut with sounds that made every new inmate jump. People said no one escaped Black Ridge. People also said that Marcus Kane controlled more of the prison than the officers did. Nobody could prove it. Daniel Harris had worked there for 8 years. Other guards trusted him because he followed every rule. He checked every lock twice. He never accepted gifts. He never spoke kindly to dangerous inmates. His captain often told new officers, "If you want to learn how to do this job the right way, watch Daniel." Daniel believed rules kept everyone alive. Every morning he kissed his wife, Emily, goodbye before driving to work. Every afternoon he tried to be home before his daughter, Lily, finished school. His family meant everything to him. Life was simple. Until one rainy Monday. That afternoon, Daniel was assigned to deliver food trays through Cell Block C, where Marcus Kane lived. Most inmates shouted, complained, or ignored the guards. Marcus did none of those things. He simply watched. His eyes followed Daniel from one cell to another. When Daniel reached cell 114, Marcus finally spoke. "You look tired today." Daniel ignored him and slid the tray through the slot. Marcus smiled. "Family problems." Daniel walked away without answering. The next day Marcus tried again. "Your daughter likes blue backpacks." Daniel froze. Slowly, he turned around. Marcus stood at the bars with the same calm smile. Daniel's face turned pale. "What did you say?" "I said blue backpacks." "Nice choice." Daniel's heart pounded against his chest. Nobody inside this prison should know anything about Lily. Nobody. Daniel rushed straight to the prison captain. He reported every word. The captain searched Marcus's cell from top to bottom. Nothing. No phone. No letters. No hidden notes. Nothing connected Marcus to Daniel's family. The captain finally shrugged. "He's playing mind games. Don't let him get inside your head." Daniel wanted to believe that. For a few days, Marcus stayed silent. Everything seemed normal again. Daniel slowly convinced himself it had all been a lucky guess. Then Friday came. Daniel arrived home after work. The front door was open. Emily was crying. Lily's blue backpack was sitting alone on the front porch. And taped to the backpack was a single white envelope with 5 chilling words written across the front. Your move, Officer Harris." Daniel Harris could not breathe. He rushed past the blue backpack and nearly tripped over the front steps. "Emily!" he shouted. His wife ran into his arms, crying so hard she could barely speak. "Lily, she's safe," Emily said between tears. "She came home 5 minutes ago. She said someone left the backpack on the porch while she was playing next door." Daniel looked around the quiet street. Nothing seemed strange. Children were riding bicycles. Neighbors were cutting their grass. It looked like a normal evening. But Daniel knew it was not. Someone had watched his family. Someone had come close enough to leave that backpack without being seen. His hands shook as he picked up the white envelope. Inside was one sheet of paper. Only one sentence was written on it. "Tomorrow. Cell 114. Come alone." No name. No fingerprints. No clues. Daniel immediately called the local police. Officers searched the neighborhood, spoke with neighbors, and checked doorbell cameras. They found nothing. One camera showed a person wearing a hood walking near Daniel's house, but the face could not be seen. It was as if the visitor had planned every step. That night, Daniel did not sleep. He sat beside Lily's bedroom door until the sun came up. Every small sound made him look out the window. Every passing car made his heart race. The next morning, Daniel arrived at Black Ridge Prison earlier than usual. The prison looked the same. The steel gates opened. The alarms buzzed. The guards greeted one another. But Daniel felt as if every hallway was hiding a secret. When he reached cell block C, Marcus Kane was already awake. The killer stood quietly behind the bars with his hands folded. "You came," Marcus said. Daniel stepped close enough that no one else could hear. "What do you want?" Marcus smiled. "I wanted to make sure you understood that this is serious." "If anyone touched my family—" "No one touched them," Marcus interrupted calmly. "That was only a message." Daniel grabbed the bars. "You stay locked in this prison. How can you know where my family lives?" Marcus leaned forward. "Because prison walls keep inmates inside." He paused. "They don't keep everyone else outside." Daniel slowly let go of the bars. Marcus was telling him something without saying it directly. Someone outside the prison was working for him. Someone free. Someone dangerous. Before Daniel could ask another question, another officer walked into the hallway. Marcus instantly became silent. Daniel walked away without another word. The questions only grew larger. That afternoon, Daniel secretly asked around the prison. He spoke to officers who had worked there for years. He talked with maintenance workers. He even asked retired guards over the phone. Again and again, he heard the same strange rumor. Marcus Kane never threatened people unless he already had control over them. Some guards believed he still ran a criminal group from inside prison. Others laughed at the idea. "No phones," one officer said. "No internet. No visitors except his lawyer. It's impossible." But another guard lowered his voice. "Impossible doesn't mean it isn't happening." Daniel decided he needed proof. After his shift ended, he stayed behind. Instead of going home, he quietly walked through the older part of the prison. Years ago, one wing had been closed after water pipes burst. Now it was used only for storage. Dust covered everything. Old desks, broken chairs, rusty filing cabinets. Daniel searched room after room, hoping to find old reports about Marcus. Most cabinets were empty. Then he found one drawer that had been locked. The old key hanging beside the cabinet surprisingly fit. Inside was a thick folder. Across the front were 3 words: "Confidential Incident File." Daniel opened it. The first pages contained reports from 10 years earlier. One report caught his attention immediately. A guard named Thomas Reed had suddenly resigned after 20 years of perfect service. The official reason said, "personal matters." But clipped behind the report was a handwritten note, believed to have accepted favors from inmate Marcus Kane. Investigation incomplete. Daniel's eyes widened. This was not the first time. He kept reading. Another report. Another guard. Another unexplained resignation. Then another. Each report ended before investigators found enough evidence. It was like every trail simply disappeared. Daniel quickly copied the names into his notebook before returning the file exactly where he had found it. Someone had hidden these records for a reason. As he left the storage wing, he heard footsteps behind him. He turned. Nobody. Only silence. He continued walking. Again. Footsteps. Slow. Steady. Matching his pace. Daniel spun around one more time. The hallway was empty. The lights flickered overhead. Then he noticed something lying on the floor near the exit. It had not been there before. It was a small black chess piece. A king. Taped underneath it was another note. Daniel carefully unfolded the paper. Only 6 words were written across it. Meet me tonight. No cameras. Alone. He looked up sharply. At the far end of the hallway, just before the lights flickered off again, he saw a prison guard standing completely still. The figure stared at him for one silent second, then disappeared into the darkness. Daniel Harris stood frozen. The dark hallway was empty again. For a moment, he wondered if he had imagined the guard standing there. He quickly ran to the end of the hallway. Nothing. Only locked doors and silent storage rooms. The mysterious guard had vanished. Daniel looked back at the note in his hand. Meet me tonight. No cameras. Alone. Who had written it? Marcus Kane? Another guard? Or someone who wanted to help him? Daniel slipped the note into his pocket before anyone could see it. The rest of his shift felt longer than ever. Every officer he passed seemed normal. They laughed during breaks. They talked about sports. They complained about the long hours. But Daniel could not stop wondering. Was one of them secretly working for Marcus? When his shift ended, he drove home. Emily met him at the front door. You look exhausted, she said. I'll be okay. You've said that every day this week. Daniel forced a smile. I just have a lot on my mind. Emily studied his face. She knew something was wrong. You can tell me. Daniel wanted to tell her everything. He wanted to explain about Marcus, about the notes, about the blue backpack. But if Marcus truly had people outside the prison, telling Emily might only put her in greater danger. So he simply hugged her. I promise I'll fix this. That evening, after Emily and Lily were asleep, Daniel quietly left the house. He drove back toward Black Ridge Prison. The parking lot was nearly empty. The night air was cold. Clouds covered the moon. Daniel walked along the side of the prison where old maintenance tunnels connected several buildings. Few cameras watched that area because it was rarely used. He checked his watch. 10 p.m. Nothing happened. 10 minutes passed. Then 15. Just as he began thinking no one would come, he heard footsteps behind him. You actually came. Daniel turned. Standing under a dim security light was an older prison guard. His name was Robert Collins. He had worked at Black Ridge for almost 30 years. Most officers respected him. Robert looked nervous. He kept glancing over his shoulder. You wrote the note? Daniel asked. Robert nodded. We don't have much time. What is this about? Robert took a deep breath. I know about Marcus. Daniel's heartbeat quickened. What do you know? Robert lowered his voice. He's not running this alone. I already guessed that. You guessed wrong. Daniel frowned. What do you mean? Robert stepped closer. Everyone thinks Marcus has a gang outside the prison. He paused. The real problem is inside. Daniel stared at him. There are guards helping him. The words hit Daniel like a hammer. How many? I don't know. But I've seen things. What things? Doors unlocked without permission. Security cameras pointed the wrong way. Missing evidence. Reports disappearing. Daniel remembered the confidential files. So it's true. Robert nodded. 4 years. Why didn't you report it? I tried. Robert looked down. The officers I trusted were transferred. What about the captain? I don't know who I can trust anymore. A cold silence filled the night. Then Robert reached into his jacket. Daniel instinctively stepped back. Instead of a weapon, Robert pulled out a small flash drive. "I copied everything I could before they erased it." Daniel carefully took it. "What's on this?" "Security logs. Old reports. Names." Daniel slipped the flash drive into his pocket. "This could expose everyone." Robert looked him directly in the eyes. "That's why they can never know you have it." At that exact moment, bright headlights swept across the parking lot. Both men turned. A prison vehicle was driving toward them. Robert's face turned pale. "We've been seen." The vehicle stopped only a few yards away. Two guards stepped out. One of them smiled. "Working late?" Robert answered calmly. "Just talking." The second guard looked at Daniel. "You should both head home." Daniel noticed something strange. Neither guard wore a name tag. Before he could ask why, the two men climbed back into the vehicle and slowly drove away. Robert waited until the taillights disappeared. They weren't supposed to be on duty tonight. "Who were they?" Daniel asked. "I don't know. You've worked here for 30 years. I've never seen either of them before." Daniel felt a chill run through his body. Someone had access to prison uniforms. Or worse, they were real guards whose identities had been hidden. Robert looked at his watch. "I have to go." "Wait. If I stay any longer, they'll know I talked." Robert hurried toward his old pickup truck. Before getting inside, he looked back one last time. "If anything happens to me..." He stopped speaking. "Don't trust anyone wearing this uniform." Then he drove away into the darkness. Daniel sat inside his own car for several minutes. He took out the flash drive. It looked ordinary, just a small black piece of plastic. Yet it might contain enough evidence to destroy a secret network inside Black Ridge Prison. He decided not to look at it at home. Instead, he drove to a 24-hour copy shop across town where public computers could be used. The shop was almost empty. Only one employee stood behind the counter. Daniel inserted the flash drive into a computer. Dozens of folders appeared. Security footage, financial records, shift schedules, scanned letters. Everything Robert had promised. Then Daniel opened a folder marked Payments. His eyes widened. There was a list of money transfers. Large amounts. Different dates. Different bank accounts. But every payment ended with the same handwritten initials. DH. Daniel stared at the screen in disbelief. Those were his own initials. Someone had created records that made it look as though he had been taking money from Marcus Kane for months. Before Daniel could process what he was seeing, every light inside the copy shop suddenly went out. The room fell into complete darkness. Then, somewhere behind him, a calm voice whispered, "You found the wrong file. Officer Harris." Daniel Harris spun around so fast that the chair crashed onto the floor. The copy shop was completely dark. Only the glow from the computer screen lit the room. "Who's there?" Daniel shouted. No one answered. His heart pounded as he looked toward the front counter. The employee was gone. The front door was still locked. The room was silent. Then the lights flickered back on. Everything looked normal again. The employee walked out from a back room carrying a box of printer paper. "You okay, sir?" the employee asked. Daniel stared at him. "Did you hear someone talking?" The employee shook his head. "No. The power cuts out sometimes." It only lasted a few seconds. Daniel looked around again. There was nobody else in the shop. Had someone really whispered to him? Or had the message come through a hidden speaker? He quickly copied every file from the flash drive onto a second drive that he bought from the store. Then he removed both drives, thanked the employee, and hurried to his car. As he drove home, he kept checking his mirrors. A black SUV stayed several cars behind him. When Daniel turned right, the SUV turned right. When he changed lanes, it changed lanes too. His stomach tightened. Someone was following him. Instead of driving home, Daniel headed toward the local police station. The moment the police building came into view, The black SUV suddenly turned onto another street and disappeared. Daniel stopped his car. He watched the empty road for almost a minute. The SUV never came back. Whoever had been following him did not want to be seen near the police. Daniel decided not to tell Emily anything yet. When he reached home, she was sitting at the kitchen table. "You've been gone a long time," she said quietly. "I had extra paperwork." Emily looked at him for a moment. "I know you're trying to protect us." Daniel looked up. "I don't know what you mean." "You've checked every window 3 times tonight." She reached across the table and held his hand. "Whatever you're facing, you don't have to face it alone." Daniel wanted to tell her everything, but he remembered Marcus's warning. He forced a smile. "I promise everything will make sense soon." Emily nodded, though she did not look convinced. The next morning, Daniel returned to Black Ridge Prison carrying the copied flash drive hidden inside his lunchbox. The prison felt different. The officers spoke in quieter voices. Several inmates were whispering through the bars. Something had happened overnight. When Daniel entered cell block C, he noticed Marcus Kane calmly reading a book. Marcus looked up before Daniel even reached the cell. "You didn't sleep much." Daniel stopped walking. "You've been watching me." Marcus smiled. "No." He slowly closed the book. "I've been informed." Daniel leaned closer. "Who is helping you?" Marcus simply shrugged. "You still think this is about one guard?" Daniel lowered his voice. "Robert Collins gave me everything." For the first time, Marcus's smile disappeared. Only for a second. Then it returned. "So, Robert finally made his choice." Daniel noticed the tiny change in Marcus's expression. Robert's name meant something. Before Daniel could ask another question, the prison alarm suddenly blared through the building. Red emergency lights flashed across every hallway. Every steel door slammed shut automatically. Guards began shouting, "Inmate missing! Lock down every block!" Daniel ran toward the control room with the other officers. The captain stood over a prison map. "Count every inmate," he ordered. Minutes passed. One by one, every housing unit reported in. Finally, an officer spoke into the radio. "All inmates accounted for." The captain frowned. "That's impossible. The alarm says one inmate escaped his assigned location." Daniel looked at the computer monitor. The missing inmate was listed as Marcus Kane. Daniel immediately looked toward cell 114 through the security camera feed. Marcus was standing behind the bars exactly where he belonged. He had never left his cell. The captain slammed his fist onto the desk. "Reset the system." A technician checked the computers. After several minutes, he looked confused. Someone manually changed the prison records. "When?" "About 10 minutes before the alarm." "From where?" The technician's fingers froze over the keyboard. His face turned pale. It was done from inside the security office. Every guard in the room slowly looked at one another. The person responsible had to be wearing a uniform. The captain immediately ordered every officer to remain inside the building. No one was allowed to leave. One by one, guards were questioned. Daniel quietly watched the room. Everyone seemed nervous. Some looked angry. Others looked scared. Then the captain's assistant walked in carrying a sealed evidence bag. "Sir, we found this in locker 27. The captain opened the bag. Inside was a stack of cash. Several $1,000s. On top of the money sat a folded note. The captain opened it. His face hardened. He slowly looked across the room until his eyes stopped on Daniel. "Officer Harris." The room fell silent. Daniel stepped forward. "What is it?" The captain held up the note. Written across the front in black ink were 6 chilling words. "Payment for guard Harris. Final installment." Every officer in the room turned to stare at Daniel. Before he could defend himself, 2 correctional officers walked toward him. One removed his radio. The other reached for his handcuffs. Then, from somewhere deep inside the prison, a loud explosion shook the entire building. The lights went out. Steel doors slammed open across multiple cell blocks. And in the darkness, Marcus Kane's calm voice echoed through the prison. "Now the real deal begins." The explosion shook every wall inside Black Ridge Prison. The lights flashed on and off. Emergency alarms screamed through every hallway. Guards shouted orders that nobody could hear over the noise. Cell doors locked and unlocked at random as the prison's computer system failed. Officer Daniel Harris pushed away the 2 guards who were trying to handcuff him. "I'm not running," he shouted. "If you arrest me now, you're arresting the wrong person." The prison captain looked around the control room. Everything was happening too fast. Smoke filled one of the security hallways. The computer screens went black. Then one monitor suddenly turned back on. It showed Cell 114. Marcus Kane was still standing inside. He had never escaped. The captain stared at the screen. If he's still locked up, then who caused all this? Daniel suddenly understood. The explosion was never about helping Marcus escape. Everyone turned toward him. "It was made to distract us." The captain's eyes widened. "The security office." Daniel nodded. "Someone wants to destroy the evidence." Without waiting for permission, Daniel and the captain raced toward the security office. 2 other officers followed close behind. When they reached the hallway, smoke poured from beneath the office door. Daniel kicked it open. Inside, papers were burning in a metal trash can. Someone had tried to destroy years of prison records. But the room was empty. The person responsible had escaped only seconds earlier. Daniel quickly grabbed a fire extinguisher and put out the flames. Many files had burned, but several hard drives were still untouched. One of the technicians rushed inside. "We can still recover these." Daniel handed over the copied flash drive Robert Collins had given him. "Use this too." The technician plugged the drive into a secure computer. Within minutes, dozens of hidden files appeared. The room became completely silent. There were payment records, secret messages, shift changes, deleted security footage. Everything matched the evidence Robert had collected. Then they found the final folder. Its name was simple: Partners. Inside were photographs. One by one, the faces appeared on the screen. Several prison guards, a maintenance supervisor, a former records clerk, and finally, Deputy Warden Richard Lawson. The captain could hardly believe what he was seeing. "Impossible." Daniel slowly shook his head. "No. It explains everything. The missing reports, the fake payment records, the disappearing evidence, the false alarms. Someone with real authority had been protecting Marcus Kane for years." Just then, another officer ran into the room. "Sir, we found Deputy Warden Lawson." "Where?" "In the underground maintenance tunnel." The captain and Daniel hurried downstairs. Lawson was trying to force open a locked service gate while carrying 2 heavy bags. Inside the bags were stacks of cash, fake identity papers, and years of hidden prison records. When Lawson saw them, he stopped. His shoulders dropped. He knew it was over. The captain stepped forward. "Richard Lawson, you're under arrest." Lawson quietly placed the bags on the floor. He did not fight. Instead, he looked directly at Daniel. "You should have taken the deal." Daniel frowned. "What deal?" "The same one every guard was offered." Lawson gave a tired smile. "Money, protection, a better life." Daniel shook his head. "You threatened my family." Lawson nodded slowly. "I knew you'd refuse unless you believed you had no choice." Daniel felt anger rise inside him. "You used my wife and daughter. I never wanted anyone hurt. You still chose to frighten them." Lawson lowered his head. "I did." Police officers arrived a few minutes later and placed Lawson in handcuffs. Over the next several days, investigators uncovered the entire operation. Lawson had secretly controlled a small group of corrupt prison employees for years. In exchange for money, they passed messages, erased records, changed work schedules, and helped Marcus Kane keep influence over criminals outside the prison. Marcus himself had never escaped his cell. He had not needed to. As long as corrupt people carried out his orders, he could still reach beyond the prison walls. Every person involved was arrested. The hidden money was recovered. The fake evidence against Daniel was proven false. Robert Collins was recognized for risking his life to expose the truth. The prison installed new security systems, replaced corrupt staff, and introduced strict independent inspections to prevent anything like it from happening again. A month later, Daniel walked through Black Ridge Prison one final time. The halls felt different. The whispers were gone. The fear that had hung over the prison for years had finally begun to fade. Before leaving, Daniel stopped outside cell 114. Marcus Kane stood quietly behind the bars. For a long moment, neither man spoke. Finally, Marcus broke the silence. "You won." Daniel looked at him calmly. "No. The truth won." Marcus gave a small smile. "For now." Daniel smiled back. "You'll spend the rest of your life behind those bars. This prison belongs to the law again." Without another word, Daniel turned and walked away. Sunlight filled the prison yard as he stepped outside. Emily and Lily were waiting for him near the parking lot. Lily ran into his arms. Daniel hugged his family tightly. For the first time in many weeks, he knew they were safe. The secret deal between a guard and a killer had nearly destroyed innocent lives. But in the end, honesty was stronger than fear, the truth defeated corruption, and the prison's darkest secret was finally brought into the light.